Thank you for joining us today on Legal Talk 360. I'm your host, Al Green. It's great to be back in the studios here at Legal Talk 360. Have a very interesting show today. I know you're probably looking at the monitor rather than looking at me, and we're going to get right to that. But first, I want to just put this out there in front. For those of you that may be facing eviction, one thing that I would suggest to you, not giving you legal advice, but this is what I would do if I were you. I would ask for a jury trial. Ask for a jury trial to give yourself some time in the space of when you have to appear in court. Maybe you can get some financial affairs in order, and also it may be a way that you can negotiate with your landlord. Also, a lot of landlords will negotiate with you to settle the rent, and also give you a pathway forward. So I would recommend, again, keep lines of communication with your landlord, and also when you get the eviction lawsuit from the court, the papers from the court, file for a jury trial. Ask for a jury trial. It's $21. That will save you some time, because right now jury trials are really backlogged. So that will give you some time as far as also negotiating with your landlord, because landlord want the property back. And again, ask for a jury trial. Even when you lose, you can still appeal that. Understand, you still can appeal. But with that being said, there are some remedies that you can work with. They give you some leverage, maybe to negotiate with your landlord as far as a pathway forward, how you can get this problem rectified. And also check with your different government agencies and see what's out there available that can assist you in getting your rent taken care of. Now, getting to the day's show, I've been involved in this campaign out in Mansfield, Texas. A great friend of mine, Christy K. Moore, was running for City Council Place 5. I've never seen nothing like it in my life. It was great to, volunteer with Christy, block walk with Christy, and all these things. But I was able to see some things I never thought that I would want to see. I thought that they were out there, but I didn't want to see them in 2021. And I know a lot of you looking at this, so I'm going to turn to this right quick. We'll get to the bottom of this. This right here is Julia Short. That is Christie's. That's the incumbent that has the seat here, that had the seat there in Mansfield. And this is from her Facebook page. And this is trying to give you an idea of what type of campaign that was run before I get to some documents that really support a lot of facts. Notice what she says right here. So do you think my opponent might be funded by a party? That's a lie. We have a typical David, being Julie, she's David, and Goliath. She's saying that Christy is Goliath's story. Come help me defeat the giant with your vote. That's what she says. It looks innocent to most people, just kind of innocent, but it's cloaked in a lot of lies, because first of all, Christy was not funded by any party, and Julia knew that. And Julia Short tried to turn this into a partisan race, which was a nonpartisan race. She simply, all she had to do is look at her campaign report, which I'm sure she kept up with daily. But to me, this is my opinion. And again, my opinion has nothing to do with that of Christy K. Moore. These are my opinion. Those are, in my opinion, the host of Legal Talk 360. This is just a depiction of here, Julia Short, which is a white woman. She's trying to make sure that everyone know that is out there's Republican, all those Trump lovers at the polls. You've seen so many people with Trump 2024. I mean, it was like crazy. It was crazy. But what she's trying to do is to draw a contrast between the fact that, hey, look, I'm white and she's black, and I'm a Republican and she is a Democrat. That's the contrast that she was trying to pull, and which was a lie, which really that's the narrative of really the campaign that I believe that she ran against Christy K. Moore. Christy K. Moore ran for office. In other words, she filed her application on she filed this application on February the 4th, 2021. That's when she filed the application to run. That is when she filed the application to run. Now, this is where, in these small towns, you have a lot of white people. I say white people because really those were the ones that was causing the most trouble. Now, I'm not saying they were all white people, because I was able to meet a lot of great great people of all colors in Mansfield. So I don't want to give that overtone. But she led her pack of really, I believe, racist white people. Yes, I said it, racist white people. When basically you tell someone they don't belong. Even in this depiction, she's saying that Christy K. Moore, which is a very successful businesswoman, that has a business in Mansfield and has had a very successful business in Mansfield for the last 5 years. She's basically saying Christy K. Moore couldn't fund her own campaign, that she would need outside help. To me, that's demeaning to an African American, that's demeaning to a woman, and also that's demeaning to anyone of color. In other words, and that is my opinion, how I look at it. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, you're going too far. Well, that's in my mind, that's the way I see it. That she makes that contrast there. But it gets worse than this. You think it really can't get any worse than this, but no, it gets even worse. It gets worse than this. Christy K. Moore filed her application on February the 4th, 2021. And in an application, it asked Christy K. Moore the length of continuous residence as of the date of the application sworn. Christy K. Moore said that she had lived in the state of Texas 8 years, and she lived in Mansfield 1 year and 1 month. Didn't ask her where. That's what it asked her, and then it is notarized copy there. All right, she filed that, and that was her application to be placed on the ballot for May the 1st. That was the application to be placed on the ballot for May 1st. All right, but now, as soon as she filed that, then a group of citizens led by here Julia Short, they rallied against Christy. Not against her platform, not against what she stood for, not against what she would bring to the city of Mansfield. Because keep in mind, city of Mansfield has one of the highest tax brackets for a home that you ever want to buy. And you will see why. The houses are very affordable, but the tax rate is really through the roof, in my opinion. She and all of her group of other white people, I say white people because I didn't see any other race with them. Just a group of white people. They call themselves the conservatives. Matter of fact, they ran on a conservative slate. Also, they endorsed the Trump 2024 type of mentality. And then also, as you see this, they went out of that same playbook. Julia Short filed a lawsuit against Christy K. Moore. She filed a lawsuit against Christy K. Moore on the eve of early voting. She filed a lawsuit against the city of Mansfield, against the city secretary, and then also Christy K. Moore. Not only did she file a lawsuit against Christy K. Moore, she also called the Tarrant County Sheriff's Department, and I believe her and her group, I don't know who actually did the calling. Let me clarify that. Her and her group called the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office and wanted Christy K. Moore investigated for voter fraud as well. I mean, in other words, by the filing of this application, someone that's really trying to keep in mind, there's never been an African American female on the city council since 1890 in the city of Mansfield. They just had a first black mayor ever in history just several months ago. Okay, so Christy K. Moore would have made history had she won. But it's kind of hard to say how would anyone even stay in a race, and that's the part that I admire and I say about Christy K. Moore, that she won the race, that she persevered even in the midst of, number one, being investigated by the Sheriff's Department. Keep in mind, all this happened in sequence when you filed this piece of paper right here, filing your application. It brought on an investigation by the Sheriff's Department, going to your place of business, knocking on your door, going to your home, scaring your children and your family, knocking on the door, wanting to ask you questions about where you voted and when you voted. Now, to clarify the voting step, Christy K. Moore owned a house in Cedar Hill. She owned a house in Cedar Hill. She moved to Mansfield on the time of election when everyone was trying to vote this Trump out of office. Christy K. Moore was in that number wanting to vote Trump out of office. So she went to Johnson County to vote. They told her in Johnson County, hey, you can't vote here, but you need to go back there. So Christy went and voted, but she had to vote in Cedar Hill. So she had to go vote in Cedar Hill. That's the part that they're saying that's voter fraud. That's a lie. That's a lie. Because basically, she owned a home in both locations. So how could it be voter fraud? But anyway, so with that didn't stop them. They filed this lawsuit. They filed this lawsuit asking for $250,000. In other words, Julia Short filed a lawsuit for $250,000 asking for damages against Christy K. Moore in the city and so on and so forth. All right. What I admire about Christy, that in the midst of all of this, the public would never see this on her face. She was able to stay focused. She was able to stay just so on point. She was able to stay so unmoved. One day I asked Christy, I said, Christy, how is it that you're able to stay so focused? She said, you know what? Because it's not about me. She said that I'm going to stand for those that will come after me. Oh, I so admired that because, in other words, hey, you have someone here that's a very successful businesswoman. She owns 2 businesses in Tarrant County, 2 successful businesses in Tarrant County. She needs this like she needs another hole in her head. But yet and still, I believe that she stood on that wall and she took it for those that would come after her, for those that would dare to go against the establishment, to those that would dare go against the white establishment in Mansfield. But I admire her for that. I admire her for that. But this is the part that I find very upsetting and very unsettling as it deals with the city of Mansfield and the city council in the city of Mansfield. At the time that this lawsuit was filed against Christy K. Moore and all these things happened, and all the citizens lined up to talk at the city council meetings, about 20 people. You had about 15 people in person and 10 people online talk against Christy K. Moore. She doesn't belong here. She's this. She's a fraud. She's this. Any hateful, bad word that they could say and hurl at this Christy K. Moore, they did. And they did it relentlessly. Council meeting after council meeting. And the council just sit there, not saying one word. And you say, well, why should they say a word? Because the council did a fact finding on February the 15th, 2021, about this very issue of Christy K. Moore eligibility. Now keep in mind, Christy K. Moore filed to run on February the 4th, 2021. The city manager and the city secretary and all those above, they had the fact finding on February the 15th. But they sit there. They totally sat there the whole time and said not one word about this memo. They never mentioned the memo, not one time. They never mentioned the memo, that the memo basically stated that Christy K. Moore was eligible to be on the ballot. They never said anything. The mayor said nothing. None of the council people said nothing about the memo. They could have simply said, well, we've had an outside counsel, because they did not have an inside counsel. They had an outside counsel to totally vet this. That person that vetted this was attorney James Donovan. He totally vetted it. He didn't have a dog in the race, if you will. He didn't have a party in the race. He didn't have nothing in the race. All he did was looked at the law. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole memo, but I will surmise it real quick. Basically, in 1964, the Texas Supreme Court basically stated in a case that was similar to this, if a person just shows an intent to live in a said location, that pretty much solidifies their eligibility to claim that as a resident. Now, that's why the city never moved against Christy K. Moore, but the city never stopped their citizens from moving against her, because they never spoke out. To this day, the city have never uttered not one word about this memo. At the same time, Christy K. Moore is trying to run a campaign, spending $7,500 of her own money for a legal fight. You thought I was going to say for a campaign. No, for her legal fight, just to run. Just to run. Here we are in 2021. We're in the shadow of George Floyd. We're in the shadow of Black Lives Matter. But yet and still, you have a black woman that's going through what she's going through just to go and to serve, to give back to the community. Just to go and to serve, to give back to the community. No one said anything in her defense as it relates to the memo, as it relates to the fact that she was eligible to run. Not the mayor, no one said anything. To me, when people refuse to speak up, they're just as culpable and just as guilty as those that are perpetuating what's happening to that individual. They said nothing while this woman was being raked through the coal, while she was being maligned, while she was being called a fraud, while she was being called all these things. But yet and still, this is why I call Christy K. Moore a winner, because she persevered. She did not cry. She did not whine. She did not say, hey, I'm being sued. She did not say, oh, this is unfair. She did not say they're lying about me. She stayed focused on really wanting to represent not just one group of people in Mansfield, but everyone in Mansfield. And to that end, I can tell you this. Chris K. Moore had multiple support from all race, blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asians, you name it. She had a rainbow of coalition of support. But also she had those that were running this legal campaign against her because they were circulating this round and around and around and around. And this is the part I really want to get to. They filed for a TRO because they wanted this case to be stopped. They wanted Christy taken out. They wanted her not to be able to campaign. They wanted her to be done with. So they filed it, and it was always interesting to me because, now keep in mind, the city of Mansfield is in Tarrant County. Julia Short, she lives in Mansfield, which is in Tarrant County. Now, but Christy K. Moore lives in Johnson County, but she's closer. Now, keep in mind, she lives 5 minutes from City Hall. So, but they filed it in Johnson County. Johnson County, really? They filed it in Johnson County. And when I noticed the pleadings and everything like that, I said, why is it Johnson County? I asked the attorney, and he said, well, don't worry about it because it would cost us more to change the venue. But I always thought it was suspect. And then check this out. Look at this. It was suspect because guess what? What are the chances are that you would file a petition for a TRO in a judge's court that you happen to know? I mean, what are the chances of that? Because really, when you file a lawsuit, the computer picks the judge for you. You can't go to Dallas County and say, hey, I want Judge Moyer or I want Judge Collins. You're not able to pick and choose your judge. I mean, it doesn't work like that, all right? But in this particular case, it ended up where that Julia Short was able to get the judge that she knew. But I want to say this, much respect to the judicial branch in Johnson County, because that judge had the integrity to speak up and say, hey, I know Julia Short. I personally know her, but I will hear the case if there's no objection. Really? If there's no objection, I'll hear the case. But but I do respect the fact because he could have concealed the fact that he knew her. But to me, I think there's something very nefarious in the sense of how they filed it. But I don't have the proof to prove that. But to that end, the judge said that he would recuse himself if someone filed the motion. Christy K. Moore had a fantastic attorney, and that is Greg Westfall. He did a phenomenal job. Greg got to the courthouse so quick, and he filed a motion to have the judge recuse. The judge honored that motion, and he recused himself from the case. That was on a Friday. Keep in mind, early voting is going on. Christy K. Moore is out at the polls, trying to deal with this, trying to deal with lawsuits, trying to Zoom the trial, all these things at the same time. She's trying to engage the community, and she have all this hovering over her. No one would have ever known that. No one ever known that. So you would think that would be over for a while. No. They went and they found another judge. You know how hard it is to find a judge working on a Friday? I mean, it's like to find a judge working on a Friday is, you go try finding one on a Friday. It is a hard thing to do. To my chagrin, they found one on Friday. I couldn't believe it because I was saying, well, we don't have to worry about that until Monday. Man, I get a text from Greg Westfall. Hey, Al, we're doing court at such and such time. Say what? Yes, exactly. So here we go. Back to court. All right. Now, with this, they would keep in mind they're trying to get a TRO. This is not a regular lawsuit. TRO is meaning that someone feel like they're being harmed by someone else's action, so therefore they want the judge and the court to intervene. Sometimes they can do these ex parte, but not all judges will entertain an ex parte. Again, much respect to Johnson County judicial branch, because they really went by the books, and I think they did their due diligence on here, because they knew this was really just laughable. So now they're trying to push for this TRO. They're trying to push for the TRO, and then so the judge get to, for a judge to rule on the TRO, the judge must think that there's something that the other side probably will be successful on what he sees to grant you a TRO. In other words, judge may say, well, right, this person is being harmed, and this is emergency action. Yes, the court needs to intervene right now. I want to just kind of like give you an idea of what they presented as their proof that Christy K. Moore did not live in Mansfield. Keep in mind, Christy K. Moore was claiming where she lived in her funeral home, which is about 6,000 square feet, somewhere around there, facility in Mansfield, which has a shower, kitchen. Just like it's set up like a house. When you see it from the outside, it almost looks like a house, like a big mansion, if you will. All right. She claimed that as a residency. When she went into Mansfield to apply the application, that's pretty much what she shared with the city secretary. Hey, look, during the pandemic, I lived in the house because I did not want to track in COVID-19 in and out of my house with my husband and my daughter. So I want to also be on 24-hour call. A lot of you may not know that funeral home, they're on 24-hour call. I like to call them the first responders of dignity. Yes, to me, they are the first responders of dignity as far as taking custodial care of our loved ones. In other words, constantly on call. So guess what she did? She hunkered down at the funeral home, so therefore she would be at the funeral home to keep her business afloat, to keep her business moving forward. She was there like 4 or 5 months. She used that as part of her residency, and then shortly thereafter, she bought a house in Mansfield. Not just buying a house, I would say it because it's already in public record, probably about a $500,000 home that she bought in the city of Mansfield. So she was really in there, okay? Now, this is what they use to suggest the fact that Christy K. Moore didn't live in Mansfield. April the 26th, 2020. She's at home. They're showing on a video that she took, Facebook, sharing with someone. She's at home cooking for her family. Okay? She's at home cooking for her family. Then they have another one that she talks about. She's on the way home, and it's on May the 9th, 2020. Okay. Christy K. Moore never said that she was on home confinement at the funeral home. Never said that she was on locked up at the funeral home. She simply said that she used the funeral home as a residence. That's where she received mail. That's where she was able to sleep. That's where she was able to wake up. And the city accepted that. Moreover, they accepted that because it's in the fact finding. And not only that, when you look at the Supreme Court ruling from 1964, just her intent alone was enough. So really, she went over and above. So with that being said, when they presented it to the judge did what Michael Jordan would do. He would slam dunk it. He slam dunked it and told them no go. In other words, basically, I will not give you your TRO. Basically, to me, when a judge denies someone's TRO, basically saying your lawsuit at best is very thin. So you go ahead and do discovery, and you can get to whatever you want to get to, but I will not rule and give you a TRO. At the same time, Chris K. Moore is still trying to run. She's trying to campaign. But they use this right here as a tool against her, as a tool to feed propaganda, just like they use this as a tool to feed propaganda. So when I say that Christy K. Moore, she's a winner because she stood up with integrity. She stood up and she continued to stay focused. I don't know about you. It's been kind of hard for me. People having me investigated by the sheriff department, knocking on my door, steering my kid at home, and it's costing me money for my dignity. At the same time, I'm trying to fund my campaign. People just lying about me constantly. That's hard for anyone. So the city of Mansfield, you really have a winner in Christy K. Moore. And when you see her, you need to say, thank you, Christy, for being the person that you are, the one that stands up with integrity. Thank you for showing us the way. She never said anything to this day. She hasn't said anything. And please believe this. This message is not authorized by Christy K. Moore. This is someone that had a front row seat of what was happening. And this right here sums it up. Here we have this Julia Short. She holds herself out as a Christian because most Republicans do. They seem like they feel like they have the trademark on Christianity. If that's what they call Christianity, I don't want it. I don't want that brand of Christianity. When she used the Bible, she used scripture to cloak herself in a lie, something that she knows is a lie. I dare you call yourself a Christian, David and Goliath. I dare you use scripture that has been that hope for so many that were against great odds. I dare you use the word of God to make your point, which is a lie. Julia Short, you know this was a lie, just like you knew this right here was a lie, just like you knew and the judge knew that your TRO was a lie. You should be ashamed of yourself for the campaign that you have run. And the citizens of Mansfield, you need to wonder why your taxes are going up. Because when people are looking to locate their business, they're looking at your city council people and how they behave and how they conduct themselves. And when they see that your city council representatives fail to adhere to the simple common decency of professionalism, of equality, and it's a diverse society. I'm not talking about diversity as in dealing with color. I'm talking about diverse as in ideas. How can a council that just look like a certain segment of its city be diverse in any way? It's impossible. So you're wondering why your taxes are going to go up, and they're going to continue to go up. Because as long as you build rooftops and there's nothing else out there to support the tax base, there's no corporation, there's no major corporations there to support that tax base. So guess what? The tax rate continue to go up. And for those of you that may be buying your dream home, I hope you can pay your dream taxes. Because as long as you have people like Julia Short on the council and those like-minded in the lack of diversity, you will always suffer from high taxes. You will always suffer from a lack of opportunities in your city. I want to thank you for listening, and I want you to share this link. You can also go to myfactcheck.com to see all the different the legal petition, and also read this memo as well. You may find some nuggets in there because you may face these same challenges yourself. Because I believe in this day and time, just because we have seen Black Lives Matter, just because we've seen the George Floyds in our society be killed at the hands of the police, doesn't mean that people have changed. People have not changed. They've only changed their game. Thank you so much for listening. Legal Talk 360.